Well, basically, when we go out and about, and we do this presentation to all sorts of different partner organisations, as well as Police Scotland. Michelle and I go up to Tullyallen Police College once a month generally, and we share the presentation with them too. It's usually police officers that are on their crime prevention course. But a lot of them will turn around and say that they think that, you know, the sort of perception of Neighbourhood Watch is that it's just a bunch of kind of middle-aged, perhaps middle-class, nosy curtain twitchers. And you can imagine when we're at Tullyallen, sometimes the language can be a wee bit choice too, but that's basically what a lot of them say. So we're here to tell you a wee bit more about Neighbourhood Watch Scotland today, and hopefully if anybody does have that perception, which I'm sure that you do not, then maybe we'll be able to enlighten you a wee bit. That's just our mission statement. I'm not going to read it all out, but if you look at all the sort of acronym down the left-hand side there, basically we're all about bringing communities together, and we're just about promoting community resilience and trying to achieve safer neighbourhoods and stronger communities. Our director, Leslie Clark, talks a lot about neighbourliness, and it really is just that. It's the very simple premise that we all look out for each other. And there's another little jewel in the Neighbourhood Watch Scotland crown that's called Neighbourhood Alert, and I kind of alluded a wee bit to that earlier. I'll come on to that in a wee minute. Please just shout out at any time if anybody's got any questions. I should have said that at the start. So today I'm just going to give you a brief background about Neighbourhood Watch Scotland. We'll talk a wee bit about building community resilience. I'll tell you a wee bit more about the alert system. I'll give you an overview of it, how it can be used, and there's a couple of slides in here that I'll give you a wee demonstration of that. We'll talk a bit about Vis-a-Vis, so that's actually the company who designed the neighbourhood alert system, and they do have a survey tool that can be used, and I'll show you some comments from some alert users as well. So a brief background. So this is quite interesting. It's all out there on open source, but many people believe that the whole concept for Neighbourhood Watch originated back in the United States. I don't know if any of you are aware, Michelle and I are, and probably Stuart, you will be too, but in 1964, a young woman had finished her shift in a bar in New York, and she was walking home when she was brutally raped and murdered. The New York Times at that time reported, erroneously I have to say, that 38 people either heard or saw the attack. That was later proven to be grossly exaggerated, and they believe that there were between 5 and 7 people actually either saw or heard what happened to Kitty, including one gentleman who apparently had had a few beers that night, looked out his window, saw her being attacked by the male in question, phoned his best friend and said, "What should I do? There's someone being attacked outside my house." And his friend had turned around and said, "Don't be involved, don't become involved." So there's been a lot of research done into it, but that's basically where the bystander sort of effect comes from. And we, as former police officers, have all been trained in bystander and just what that means, and basically how to safely intervene in a situation. So we believe that that's the very sort of original concept of Neighbourhood Watch Scotland back to 1964. And then in the 1980s, it was actually introduced more in the model of which we now work down in England, and it was following a spate of housebreakings down there. So from England, it came up to Scotland, and certainly back in my time being a police officer, I remember I joined the force in 1992, and we used to go out and try and drum up a wee bit of interest in Neighbourhood Watch, and we would help members of the public set up watches, and it was all very organised and formal, whereas now we very much talk about your watch, your way. So it can be a very simple concept whereby there might just be a way of sharing information on a WhatsApp group, or maybe a Facebook Messenger page, or however people want to do it. It's very much about what works for them. There does not need to be any formal board or a treasurer or, you know, anything like that. It's simply a coordinator and a group of neighbours who are interested in keeping their street or their area safe. So in a nutshell, a community-led initiative based on a simple idea of bringing people together. We help to address, you know, different issues that are happening in the community, and to do that, we work closely with partner agencies, and I'll come on to more of that in a wee minute. And the whole premise is to try and create stronger and more resilient communities. So I've already spoken a wee bit about collaboration with partners and volunteers. So just to let you know, at the moment, we're sitting at just under 690 neighbourhood watches nationally. So that means that each of those watches will have their own coordinator. So just a member of that area, a member of the public who's happy to set up and just coordinate their own neighbourhood watch. They can share information with everyone in their street by the methods that I've just said, or maybe if it's an older person who's perhaps not using social media or they don't have access to a smartphone or mobile phone, then the coordinator can print off information and simply post it through their door. Our partners, we work very closely with Police Scotland, as you would imagine. The Scottish Fire and Rescue Service, Michelle has done so much work this year. When the transition from our office in Stirling, where we were based before, and we're now actually based in the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service main hub, which is in Newbridge, just outside Edinburgh. So that's just a couple of partner agencies, but obviously Water Safety Scotland, we spoke about the new water safety tab that's coming onto the alert system, or that's there already. We've got lots and lots of partner agencies out there, housing associations. You can imagine there's lots of partners, and part of our role is to grow that community network, both of neighbourhood watches and of the number of alert users. I'll come on a bit more to alert in a minute, but just to let you know, we're currently sitting at about 31,800 members of the public who've signed up to use Neighbourhood Alert nationally, and I'll talk a wee bit about more once we come on to it. So nurturing public confidence, well-being, supporting local communities to find their solutions. It's not really about us going out and doing it for them. It's about us trying to, empower them to do it for themselves. So that's why we bring in lots of different organisations, whoever's best placed to help. If it's to do with criminality, obviously we would get the police in, and so on and so forth. So, and the bottom one talks about developing new and innovative ways to empower communities to work together. There's lots of new ideas that we have regarding that, one of which is to perhaps have some training with our coordinators, and whether that would be a digital platform online, or whether we would have the time and the funding resources to get out and run some road shows. And a good example to start with would possibly be the bystander training, because that would obviously, empower members of the public to possibly intervene, but only if it's safe for them to do so. So that's one of the things that we've looked at there. Okay, so coming on to the Neighbourhood Alert system. Neighbourhood Alert is basically a secure information sharing platform. The important thing about it is that the information only comes from trusted providers. So at the moment, that is currently the police, the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service, local authority, which is generally your trading standards, send out information to, and the council can send out information. So members of the public can sign up to the alert system. So Michelle and Keith and I generally go out to our events and we'll promote it and ask people to sign up. We have lots of flyers with QR codes, etc. So it's quite easy for people to do it that way, or indeed they can register online, and we're there to support and help them. And the information that's sent out is trusted, localised and targeted information. So because it's only coming from key information providers, we know that that information at all times is accurate. As people who are using social media, everyone, on the teams today will appreciate that, for example, Facebook can often degenerate into, lots of horrible comments, etc. This does not do that. It doesn't have the ability to do that, because everyone that is signed up in Scotland, and as I've already said, there's almost 32,000 people currently. The message that goes out to those people goes point to point or end to end. So when we formulate our alert and we press the button, it will send an individual email out to everyone who's signed up. If there is anyone, because we're obviously trying to be as inclusive as we can, that doesn't want to receive it via an email, then indeed they can choose to receive it via text or via voicemail as well. There is a cost implication for Neighbourhood Watch Scotland for the messages that do not go out via email. So, hopefully, well, we know that most of the messages do go out via email, because that's it's cheaper for us to do it that way. And incidentally, Neighbourhood Alert is completely free to receive the messages. So anyone that signs up to it, they don't have to pay anything. It's very targeted, so when you put your information in to sign up to the alert system, you obviously put in your name, address and postcode. That means that if you're living in Inverness, you're not going to hear any information about what's happening down in Glasgow or Dundee or Edinburgh, so it's very targeted. And what's really good about it is we can not only focus on a particular town or area, we can actually go in and hone it right into a street or indeed an individual. So for example, if Police Scotland wanted to, send out an alert for everyone in Dundee who had a Ring doorbell, maybe they're looking to see if they can capitalise on some CCTV, then we would be able to, they'd be able to do that, because the police can actually send out messages, or we would be able to assist with that. When you sign up for the system, you put in what all your likes and interests are. So again, that makes it particularly targeted. So that's what we're talking about earlier on, the water safety tab. It's not just for people that are living in coastal areas, but anybody that is either living or working in an area where there is some sort of body of water, then we foresee people like that signing up and saying that they're interested in the water safety tab. So yeah, you can specify it right down to the demographics. Michelle did an event last year whereby she was down in Ayrshire, and it was targeted towards retired people. So because of the demographic ability, she was able to send out an alert to everyone living in the Ayrshire area who was aged 55 and over, because obviously we don't want to send it out, to 19 and 20-year-olds when it was an event targeting or veering towards people that were retired. So yeah, really, really good system. The other thing that I should say about it too is that it's fully translatable. So when we send out an alert, if someone does not have English as their first language, when they're signing up to it, they can choose which language they want to receive that alert in. And there's everything on the system from Armenian all the way down to Zulu, and everything in between. So when we send out alerts, they can choose to receive it in whatever their first language is, and that's really important. So that's just a wee overview of the alert system. If I click onto the next screen, you can have a wee look, and this is every Thursday Trading Standards send us out an alert message, and we send it out to everyone nationally. So nearly 32,000 people receive this, and it's actually very well received because it keeps them up to date with all the current frauds and scams that are going on, not just online, but by phone, in person, and through post as well. So the feedback that we get for the Trading Standards scam alert is actually very, very good. And because it goes out nationally, there's a huge volume of people that are actually receiving it. So that's a wee indication of that one. Here's another couple of ones. If on the left-hand side here, you can see it's a Police Scotland one. So they were actually sending out some letters regarding speed checks. And on the right-hand side, there is one from the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service. So just let you have a wee quick look at that. We can put links and attachments into our alerts as well. So when Carleen and Emma sent through the one about the angling toolkit or the flooding toolkit, we can actually put in links and attachments that'll take them straight through to the various organisations, which is a really good thing to do. The only thing about that is the links are not translatable. It's just the actual body of the main alert text that is translatable, because obviously we can't be responsible for translating, other web pages, etc. So that's another wee example. If we go into the next slide, we spoke earlier on about it being targeted and having a mapping system. This will show you the whole of Scotland, and you can clearly see that the areas that are in the sort of purpley mauve colours are the more densely populated areas in terms of alert, and then it goes down in sort of colour ratio. So when we get to the red ones, it's a wee bit less, the yellow ones are less, and then you can see out in some of the Outer Hebrides, the blue ones are fewer again. And if we have a wee look here, we can see here that in Beach Avenue, we've got 1, 2, sort of 3, 4 people have signed up. Glebe Crescent, there's a couple of people there. So we can actually, hone in specifically on these people. And if this was a live system, I would be able to click on one of the little circular heads there, and it would take me right into the person who lives at whatever number that is in Glebe Crescent. So it is that specific, and it's pretty sophisticated, enabling us to do that. So what kind of things can alert be used for? So it can highlight both time critical and non-time critical incidents and appeals. So for example, if something was going out regarding water safety. If there was inclement weather coming in, then it could be used to send out a safety warning. We are in talks with Police Scotland at the moment about them using it more to send out information regarding high-risk missing persons. The scams and frauds, I've spoken a bit about that. That generally comes in from trading standards, and we can signpost people, where to get the best crime prevention advice. It can also be used for, really positive things. It's not all to highlight crime and antisocial behaviour. It can be used to advise different social events that are coming up. Michelle and I have been out doing, and Keith too, have been doing quite a lot of work in the Royal Bank of Scotland in Scotland. So we've been out in branches. So prior to going 2 or 3 weeks before, we'll put out an alert saying, to everyone in Dundee, please come along to the Royal Bank of Scotland if you want to learn more about online safety and scam and fraud prevention. So it can be used for that too. And generally, if we are putting out something about crime, or the police are putting out something about crime, we always ask them to finish with something positive, like a wee bit of crime prevention, and maybe just directing them to a web page where it can give them a wee bit of sort of mitigating information, how to prevent it from happening in the future. So yeah, it can be used to publicise good news stories. It doesn't all have to be sort of warnings or crime or doom and gloom. If we go on to the next one, I talked a wee bit about Vis-a-Vis. So they are the people who've actually designed the programme. So it's been up and running for a number of years now. We're now on version 4, which is a wee bit more sophisticated than when it first came into being about 14 years ago. So the feedback's generally very good. About 90% of the population who use it are saying that the message quantity is right. And we also had some other information through to say that, a very slim percentage, 32% actually were not keen or didn't trust the information on Facebook, compared to 87% of the information that's coming out via the neighbourhood alert system. So I think that people have kind of lost faith in a lot of things that are going out on, some of the social media platforms. 56% have said they've found the messages to be very beneficial. And this one here, 80%, I feel more informed and better at identifying scams and frauds, which I think is really, really important, because so many people are nervous and really worried about that at the moment, and understandably so, because scammers are getting more and more sophisticated, it seems, by the day. So yeah, that's a really important message that we tend to send out. But yeah, that's really just a very quick overview of Neighbourhood Watch Scotland. As I said at the start, a very small team of 6 people. Leslie Clark, our director, is a retired chief superintendent from Police Scotland, and the rest of us have just got a really vested interest in trying to make, Scotland a wee bit of more connected, I would say, and a bit of a safer place to stay. But the neighbourhood alert system definitely is a bit of a jewel in our crown, because we've got a really far and wide reach with it, and because it's free as well. I think that is just a massive thing. It's really, desirable for people to have that. It doesn't cost them anything, and why would you not want to be better informed about what's happening in your community?